everybody, and welcome to 28 Days to Freedom. My name is Roger Gauthier. I'm your host on today's bonus webinar, Productivity Time Hacks, how to legally steal 9 weeks back out of your year. That's kind of an exciting topic. I mean, think what you can do with 9 weeks when your year is over. You can go hang out on the beach and sip pina coladas. If that's your thing, you can go on a 9-week windsurfing tour. You go take your family on vacation for 9 weeks, write a book. It's just endless what you can do. And so I'm really excited about introducing our guest today. He was featured on 158 top blogs in 14 months. He built a community of 4,500 subscribers. He's written numerous blog posts on some of the best blogs in the personal development and entrepreneur marketplace. He was number 8 on the top 40 personal development leadership blogs. He was interviewed by the top YouTube channel for entrepreneurs, Evan Carmichael's awesome YouTube channel. And he's also been published in a book with some of the best bloggers and marketers in the world and endorsed by people like Seth Godin, Chris Brogan, Brian Clark, Yahoo Stark, Evan Carmichael, and a whole host of others. But what's exciting is he was able to do this very quickly in 14 months. He picked up this skill while working as an IT tech person, and I'm going to let him tell the story. But this gentleman really is able to bring a passion and a life to a subject that can oftentimes be boring. But if it wasn't for some of his time hacks that he shared, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish as much as I have in my short period of time. So without further ado, I want to turn this over live to our guest, Tor Refsland. Tor, over to you.
Hi guys, I'm so stoked to be here. And thanks for an awesome introduction, Roger.
Well, it's great to have you, Tor. I mean, I know, like I said, time management, there's a lot of people talking about time management, but very few people talk about productivity. And you have accomplished so much in such a short period of time that you really can, I think personally, you bring excitement back to the word productivity, if you will. You really bring life back to something that can really be so boring. So, but when it comes to productivity, why is planning so important?
Yeah, so the thing is, and it's a good question. So the thing is basically that if you don't plan, like if you don't schedule into your weekly plan exactly what you're going to do, you're basically just sitting there, probably most likely just refreshing your inbox and checking your emails if there are coming something your way. So if you're not planning, you're basically just sitting there and reacting to other people's requests. And that's kind of like the number one thing that would easily like just literally just carve your day into half, where you kind of almost like you feel like you have been kind of having this blackout and you just lost 4 hours of the day, and almost you like wake up on the floor at your office with that kind of drooling and like dizzy and just like, what the heck just happened with those 4 hours? And it just started with you basically sitting there and checking your emails, and then it just, boom, it disappeared. So that's why it's important to plan, because then you're able to control your schedule and also control your time.
Right. Yeah, no, I know myself. If I don't actually put it in the calendar, it never seems to get done. Even the greatest goals, I know you don't put them in there, nothing happens. I mean, well, from your experience, then, how often should people plan?
Like the best way would be to actually be planning a week ahead. So, for instance, something that Brian Tracy recommends as well is, for instance, to take yours like 1 hour on the Saturday, and then you would basically just take a look at your weekly plan and just go over it. And here's the thing, if you're doing, for instance, like me, so I put everything in my Google Calendar right now, because it's not just important to have like a to-do list, but to know exactly when are you going to do it and how long will it take, and when do you have slots open for business meetings or other important stuff. So that's kind of the important of always putting it into your calendar. So like if I get invited on speaking on a virtual event in 2 weeks, I immediately go in and just put it into my calendar so it's there, because then I know that this is when I'm going to do it, and I can basically plan the rest of the day based on that event. So the short answer is, number one, plan. The best way would be to plan a week ahead. If that's maybe a little bit too hardcore for some people, at least plan the night before. So like before you go to bed, just spend 30 minutes and go through your next to-do items for the next day. And when you wake up the next morning and when you sit at your desk, you will basically go into start working right away instead of sitting there and starting to plan, because that's really unproductive.
Right. Well, you mentioned about this, and especially when you were working at the IT company, you talked about the number of things that you had to do. So for you, one of the hacks that you talked about, share what's the best way to keep track of all those, to-do items?
So the best way is basically, and let me just tell you a little kind of background story around that, because the thing is that when people are busy, like they have all these kind of different places where they store their to-do items. So when I used to work for one of the biggest companies in Norway, I was taking a look at the high achievers there, and just like kind of the people in the inner circle. And I was taking a look at how they were kind of taking notes of what they needed to do. And several of them had, like, they were sending kind of to-do items to themselves in their email, to themselves. They had a to-do list in, I think it was Microsoft Office. Then they had like a to-do list application. Then they had a note, like a physical notebook, and several other places. And I was just like talking to one of them, and I was saying like, hey, listen, like, I see that you're storing like your to-do items in like 5 to 6 different places. Like, are you keeping total track on all that? And that person said, nah, not really. I was just like, okay, so this is like a critical issue. So what I started to do, I created something I call the master to-do list, which is basically that you have one place that you just collect all your to-do items. And the thing with a master to-do list is that you're just going to have one to-do list. That's the purpose. Because as long as you, let's say that if you, have you ever had the feeling, Roger, that you had this great idea, and the only way, and you're really afraid to lose that idea. So the best way to kind of save that idea is to capture it down.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And what you can do is basically, so let's say that you use a master to-do list, and that's the only to-do list that you will ever use. Like you can, for instance, use an Excel spreadsheet, just make it that simple. But that's your to-do list, and if the activities are not on that to-do list, they won't get done. And here's the kicker. Like if you're lying there and you're trying to sleep in the evening and you get this idea, have like a notebook and a pen beside you and just write down like the key points of what it was. And the next morning, the first thing that you do when you go to your office or start working, you just start taking those notes and putting it into your to-do list. So you kind of, everything kind of, all the roads are kind of leading to your master to-do list, and kind of having these routines, you will make sure that you are on top of the things that needs to be done.
Right. And that's really good, because I know when I started doing a master to-do list, it was all there. I didn't have to scramble around and find bits and pieces of paper, or, sometimes you stick it on a sticky note and the sticky note goes over here. And so it's nice to finally have it all together in one spot. And, then later you can go through and, determine which ones you need to do for that day, right? So that's key. Well, let me ask you this then. What's the best way from your perspective to literally become instantly productive? Or instantly more productive, I should say.
Yeah. I think that would be to really understand and master the principle of the 80-20 rule. So it's basically also called like, the other name for that is like the Pareto principle, and it works like this. So if you have, and this works in every area, like in business, finance, productivity, all the areas, it has been like extensively researched. So let me use an example. During your day, if you have a list of 10 tasks that needs to be done, 20% of those tasks, so the two most important tasks of those 10, will basically generate 80% of the results. So your big focus every single day, and of course the night before or the week before when you're kind of doing the planning in advance. But your number one focus every single day is to focus on finding out which of the top 20% of the tasks on my to-do list today will generate 80% of the results. And here's the thing. When you can do that and you can only focus on those 20% first, because then you will know that if I can only do those 2 tasks and complete them today, it doesn't matter like if I got like a lot of things happening in my life, because stuff happens, because you already generated 80% of the output. So if you do that every single day, you will always make sure that you will be extremely productive and basically be focused on your most important income generating tasks in your business.
Or or your life or ministry or whatever else you're trying to accomplish. That's going to really make a big impact. Yeah. And I know sometimes Absolutely. When you do that, you don't feel so guilty that you got nothing done. There's a sense of peace and accomplishment that you got the most important thing done for that day. So
absolutely. And the thing about productivity and most things, like, because being productive is all about kind of having the right mindset, but also having the right tools, like for instance a master to-do list, or you have a system, and then it's basically having the self-discipline, and this is the hard part, having the self-discipline to follow the system that you have created. And it kind of works with productivity as the same as when you are building self-discipline, that the more productive you become, the more of the important tasks that you're kind of checking out and you have completed, the more productive you feel. And the more energy you feel, because then you're, oh gosh, I am productive today. Hey, let's just like really turn it up a notch and let's see if we can do the other tasks. And then you will basically start to kind of catching momentum, and you can enter something that is called zone, and you can become extremely productive. And yeah.
Right. Well, now let me ask you this. You wrote an article in Lifehack, and you mentioned the golden rule. Can you talk, expand on that?
Of course. So thanks for asking, Roger. So the thing about something is called the golden rule. It's basically that, again, a lot of research has been done, and they say that there are 2 hours per day where you are extremely productive. And normally that is the 2 first hours after you get out of bed. That's how it is for me. That is how it is for the majority of people. But some people might be the most productive during the evening, some actually the night, and some people are night owls. The most important thing is that you need to find out when you are the most productive during the day, and then you need to block out those 2 hours to your most important tasks. And when you can do that, that will dramatically increase your productivity. And needless to say, those 2 hours, no phone, no interruption, just laser focused work, and you can be able to do like a tremendous workload in that period of time.
Right. I know even myself, I have a difficult time once I get up at 5:30 in the morning. It takes a couple hours for the brain to come online completely. But, once I get that golden hour, making sure I've got all the things I need at the desk so I don't have to get up, that really is powerful, that 2-hour window. So, yeah. Well, I know this isn't going to be really, sometimes people think, gosh, how does this have to do with productivity? But share why it's so important to eat a proper breakfast.
Yeah, so the thing is that you kind of need to look at your body as a car. And if you don't feel like more fuel on the car, it won't be able to move. And it's basically the same with your body, because at the end of the day, the only thing that will make you productive is if you're not kind of getting sleepy and if your energy is at the peak level. So it has a lot to do with not just managing time, but also managing your energy. Mm-hmm. So you will also kind of be working on your most important tasks when you have the most energy or are able to be the most focused. So if you skip a meal, you will become more fatigued, and you won't have like the same ability to concentrate. but you won't notice because you're too, like, you won't notice unless you kind of were to study two people doing the same thing. But if you see the results that when you do when you eat the breakfast, you will be able to run full speed. And so for some people, they don't necessarily aren't productive, like unproductive, because they don't eat breakfast right away. But after they have been cranking, let's say 4 or 5 hours, suddenly there's this big drop in energy. And that's normally what it is, that they haven't kind of been able to, on a continuous basis, being able to get more fuel into their body.
Right. I used to be a personal trainer, so I remember we tracked everything from, what time you woke up and when you go to the gym, what you ate and what exercise you did. And you really do experience a big drop in performance and energy if you don't properly fuel the body. And so that's profound. And it's amazing that it affects productivity, right? I mean, you wouldn't think, but well, let me ask you this, since we're talking about productivity hacks, how would you make your commute time as productive as possible when you talk about commuting to and from work or wherever you're heading?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Roger. That's a good question. So basically so let's say that when you're doing the commute, and let's say that you're in a car, so you're not able to read a book because obviously you're driving. So what you can do is actually that you can listen to audiobooks or audio programs. So you will still be able to kind of consume information, and you can kind of still continue to develop as a person and kind of learn the new things that will take, for instance, your community or your business or your life to the next level. And that's something that I did when I used to work for one of the biggest companies in Norway. I had this MP3 player. It was filled with all the big gurus out there, like Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, and Zig Ziglar, and all these awesome people. And I just kept listening to them. And it really helped me a lot to just kind of get that instant boost of inspiration from the legends of that have lived on our planet.
Yeah. I came across an individual online, and she went to one of these big meetings where they bring in speakers for the military troops. And this one guy was a sniper, and he was out in the field. They would go out for a month at a time, and he was one of the ones that, they would only move an inch every hour, one of these professional snipers. But she asked him, how did you maintain a positive attitude for 30 days? And he said that he had an MP3 in his ear, and he would listen to, self-improvement there on the battlefield, while he's fighting these people. He's listening to improvement. So that's a, powerful way to improve, during your commute or in the battlefield, or in my case, when I fly on airplanes, I do the same thing. So, well, let me ask you this, because this is really critical, especially if you're working at home like myself, or, if you're working at Panera's or some other place. What do you do if you need to work in a focused manner on tasks, but you don't want people to interrupt or disturb you? What do you do?
So the best way is kind of taking a look at the environment and see, number one, is there any way that you're able to control and influence the environment? So, for instance, if you're at work and you have an open landscape and you're sitting there together with a few colleagues, then you can basically ask them, listen, I'm sitting on a very important project right now. Can we, if you're going to discuss things, can you please, keep your voices a little bit down, or perhaps you're able to go to a meeting room or something like that. I would really appreciate that. And then I would just put in my earplugs and listen to classical music with no lyrics and just go into the zone and become very productive. That's option number one. Number two is that if you can't control the environment, so sometimes if you're at work, people will basically just pop into your office or into where you're sitting and try to see if they can get kind of a few favors because you were having a good chat with a water machine a few days ago. So people are always trying to kind of get their kind of agenda through. And what you can do then is basically that you can also say hey, listen, I'm really busy right now. Just please send me an email and I'll get back to you. if it's not coming into the proper channels. So you are basically teaching people on how to kind of get your time. And if that doesn't work, you will need to basically remove yourself from the disturbing environment. And it can basically be, number one, it can basically be that you just go out on your work from the open landscape from your office, and you try to find a meeting room, and you book it, and you just sit there and work. Another thing that you can do is that you can put in your calendar, just like put in like a code for something like TBC or whatever, and just clear out your schedule so people won't bug you. And then you will remove yourself. For instance, you can find another place. And if it's really, really bad, this is what I used to do in my work. Like if I couldn't find places, I would basically say, listen, I went to my boss and said, listen, I need to get this done. I'm not able to focus and work productively right now. And the company is better served for me to being able to solve this like even faster than I normally would with all the distractions. Is it okay if I go there or there in order to work and to get it done? So that's kind of the thing that you need to do. And if you're sitting at your home office and you've got people or your family running around, which is sometimes is the case, then it comes to a point where you basically need to ask yourself, okay, if it's really important what I need to do now, and if I can have no interruptions, just think about it. Is there anywhere else that you could go quite easily? Like, could you go like to the library? Could you go to a coffee shop? Could you remove yourself from the existing environment and basically just be sitting there and laser focused? So yeah, that would be the best thing.
Right. Well, you mentioned something. I'm going to share my screen here for a second, because one of the things you talked about in some of the hacks that you talked about, and also from the surveys, and that's just the next question I wanted to ask you, is when I surveyed, our audience, I don't know, is that coming online now? Can you see it? So we just made the survey really simple, and we talked about, what are your biggest distractions? And obviously you can see the results here. The number one distraction, was email, right? Social media, paperwork, phone calls, and things of that nature. And so, that was one of the things that you talked about is, how can people control, their inbox from literally taking over their lives? What are some of the tips that you have in regards to that?
So, okay, good question. So the thing that you need to understand is, the same goes with the inbox as with your schedule, that if you don't have a system with your inbox, because the inbox is just completely packed with people wanting to steal your attention, steal your time, and making you more unproductive, kind of, and then kind of gaining something. Like that's what it is at the end of the day. They're not evil people or anything like that. That's just what the email initially is.
Sometimes I wonder. No.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's basically, okay, so I know that I used this metaphor in another interview, but imagine that your email is, it's kind of like this. So it's kind of, if you open the door to your house or your apartment to the outside, and you're about to go out of your house or your apartment, it's basically having this long line of people standing in a queue, and they're all waiting to ask you something. So it might be your neighbor, might be your old classmates, and basically, oh, can I borrow the salt? Or, oh, did you see? Can you drive my kid to the soccer practice because my car broke down? And all that kind of stuff. That's kind of the big metaphor on what your inbox is. So every time you open it up, you kind of get sucked into it, and kind of been slammed with other people's requests, and then it's time to control it. And the best way to do that is to ask yourself, how important, like, will there be any, am I waiting for any emails today that is extremely important? Like, if I don't almost answer right away, it might have severe consequences. And the thing is that what you could do, what I like to do is that I tell people, like, okay, send me an email, and if it's something that I'm waiting for instance, if it's a real estate agent or something in form of selling a house or something like that, if something that's really important, just like send me an email, but send me an SMS once you have done it. So you will get an SMS, and then you will go in, you will just search for that specific email and you will ignore the rest. That's one way to do it. You could also do that in a combination of kind of breaking your mail checking into, for instance, several steps. So what I do, I normally, something that has worked well is kind of break your day into kind of check your email 3 times. So it would be, number one, would be to take a brief look before you start the day. So just kind of get a glance so there's nothing high critical issues. And if you get some really big important things that just suddenly drop down that needs to be fixed now, you just need to rearrange your plan for the day.
Right.
Normally that doesn't happen, but it can. So depending on your situation, that can happen. At least if you have like a normal job where your boss probably wants to like give you more workload and kind of pestering you about stuff that needs to be done as soon as possible. Then number one, to just like maybe just spend 10 minutes just checking your email very quickly, and then you start working. And then you will check your email, for instance, right before you go to lunch. Mm-hmm. And then you will check the email, for instance, 1 hour before you leave for the day or 30 minutes before you leave for the day. So by having those time slots, and you also can give yourself like a specific set of time. So I'm only going to spend 15 minutes, or I'm going to spend 10 minutes to just check if it's going to be some high critical issues that needs to be responded to. And all the rest, you basically ignore it, and you put in your calendar that you will get back and take a look at the rest of the emails at a later time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's key. I was just thinking of that top marketer in the world, Dan Kennedy. I heard that he doesn't even read his emails. He has his assistant FedEx him on paper the ones he has to respond to by Friday. Then I guess he works on it and then sends them out on Monday. He doesn't even go into his email. So, someone in that position with such, high priority task doesn't even bother reading his email, right? Has someone else to do it. Sometimes some of the things we think are critical, they just really aren't critical, and it does waste a lot of time. Those are pretty good analogies, Tor. So, well, let me ask you this. You wrote an article on your blog about the importance of saying no. Now, I know in my life this is critical, but why is it so important?
Yeah, so the thing is that, as we all know, like we only have 24 hours in our day. And if you, like, I used to struggle with this before, and now I know that this is something that many people are like struggling with. So it's totally normal. And it's basically to say yes to too many opportunities. Mm-hmm. Normally because you don't want to hurt other people, you want to help them. But it comes to like a certain point where if you say yes to too many opportunities, or you just don't like to say no, so you say yes to something you really didn't want to do, it's really, at the end of the day, it's really selfish. Because what it does is that it steals time away that you could spend on, for instance, building your community or building your business, and also spending more time with the people that you love, your family and your friends. So every time that you say yes to something, it may only take you an hour, but 1 hour can suddenly turn into 2 hours, and that might actually be the time that you were supposed to be with your kids. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the important thing and that's what successful people are really good at, is to be good at saying no. Mm-hmm. Because they know what their values are in life and what they're going to accomplish, and they will only spend that amount of time every day in their business or on other things, so they can have more time, for instance, with their family. And in order to do that, the more successful you become, the harder it will become, because you get more opportunities. Right. And that's basically what it's all about, is basically being good at saying no. And it can be really, really hard, but when you start to explain why, for instance, it could be something like, if someone asks you like, oh, can you help me to change the tires on my car? And it will be like, you know what? I would really love to help you, but I'm sorry I can't do that right now because I need to complete a really important project. Mm-hmm. But like, I know that you can handle doing that on your own, so like, no worries, like, talk to you later. And it's basically that you just in a polite way are training people on how to respect your time by doing it in a polite way and also explaining them why. And when you do that, they will actually respect your time more. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. So it kind of starts So the thing is that it's also the opposite way, that when you start saying yes to people, they come back and ask for the same things over and over again.
Hey, can you guys open the door for Caleb,
so that's
please?
kind of the big clue here, that you really want to become good at saying no to the opportunities that doesn't move you faster towards the goal that you have set.
Right. And I think that's important, because I know, as a Christian myself, I find it difficult because you want to help people. We're supposed to help people. At the same time, I realize that there are other people that are depending on me to get certain things done and accomplished by a certain time. And so I have a responsibility for them as well. Like my family's depending on me. So I've got to say no to business opportunities or other things that come along, because my family is relying on me to be available, say at 5:00 when my work day is done. I've got to say no to those people and honor my family as much as anybody else. And that can be hard. So we appreciate that, Tor. So now let me ask you a question. I know that you have some strategy and tactics that can really legally steal 9 weeks back out of your year. And that's powerful, because that could be 9 weeks of vacation, 9 weeks of just sitting in a hammock, sipping pina coladas on the beach if someone wants to, or writing that book, and or wrestling with polar bears in your case, right? So, if what can they do if people on today's call want to go deeper with you and really start to learn these skills and these techniques? I know that normally you charge $500, but you wanted to do something for us. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Roger. So basically, I'm going to do something cool for your amazing audience. And normally I charge $500 for a strategy call, but I will give away a few strategy calls to your audience, so they can basically just send an email to tor@timemanagementchef.com and just write in the topic, just like Roger sent me, like that would be cool, and I know like where they're coming from. We'll find a time that suits us, and we'll jump on a call, and I will basically help you to improve your productivity and take your business to the next level. But this is normally something that's for people who are running their businesses and want to take their business to the next level. So that would be one of the things. And you can also probably put that in the information or a link there so people can find it. And the other thing is that if people want to become more productive, they can actually download my ebook, which is called Insane Productivity Hacks. And I'm basically sharing how I was able to 4x my productivity. So I was able to do in 2 hours what I used to do in 8 hours when I used to work for one of the biggest companies in Norway. So then they can go to timemanagementchef.com/Roger.
Well, I appreciate that. I know I had a chance to read that Insane Productivity Hack. So that's definitely a major plus for those of you on today's call. And those of you who couldn't make the call today for whatever reason, we'll be rebroadcasting this. We'll do a little video editing and some fancy work here to make myself look a little better, if that could happen. And we'll make those resources available to you in there. But that is a powerful book, simple, to the point ebook that you made available. So yeah, we appreciate that, Tor. Thank you so much. And I know I want to be respectful of your time. You mentioned that you only had 30 minutes today. We've gone a little bit over. If you have a few seconds, do you have a few minutes to maybe answer questions from some people that are on today's call? So for those of you who are joining us here today, I want to open up to ask a couple questions. If you look on the right side of your screen, you should see a little arrow, orange button with an arrow in it. If it's pointing to the left, that means you can open the control panel. If it's pointing to the right, that means the control panel is already open. There's an indicator where you can, a little hand where you can click on it, and it will show the hand if you want to ask a question. Either that, or you can type it into the chat box down below, and I could be more than happy to answer your chats and ask them to Tor. So, but again, Tor, we really appreciate the time. I know that is a real, I want to thank you for making that strategy session available. I know they take time, and that's why you charge $500, but thank you for making that available for free today. And for those of you do it. I want to encourage you guys on today's call, take advantage of that. I know strategy sessions helped me tremendously as I was building the vision that was given to me and going forward. And you just need to have sometimes an insightful person looking from the outside into your situation, because when you're in the trees and you're trying to plow through the forest or the jungle, a lot of times it's difficult to see where you're going unless you can get some perspective from, the top of the mountain or above the trees. And that's what Tor is going to do here with you with this strategy session. So if you didn't get a chance to hear it again, we'll make it available in the email we send out. But again, it's Tor, T-O-R, at timemanagementchef.com. Just go ahead and put in the section there that you want to take advantage of the strategy session. So Philip is asking a question here. He's saying part of the questionnaire that we sent out was the area that they were struggling in with productivity. And I'll just show the screen here again. When we did this survey, you can see we had personal life, business objectives, health and fitness, personal improvement, finances. He's asking, is there any productivity hacks that you can have when it comes to finance that you're aware of?
So the question is, could you please elaborate that? Would that be in order for you to do your finances, like the paperwork and kind of the taxes and accounting, or is it in form of finances to earn more money into your business, or maybe just getting more profit by also saving costs? So if you could please elaborate that.
So I guess what he's saying here, it looks like he's typing in that it regards to being able to get out of debt and earn more income with the normal work schedule that he already has, because he's got a work schedule here. It looks like it's 13 hours a day. So what are some time hacks he could use to start earning more income that would help him in transitioning from his 13-hour-a-day job to his real passion?
That's a really good question. So, and I can answer it shortly, but I would actually really recommend that you also book one of these free strategy sessions with me. Then we can really go deep into your specific situation, and I can give you a specific strategy on how to do that in your case. But the short answer is yes, it's possible. So the number one would be basically to assess your situation. You're working 13 hours per day. That's a lot. So the question number one is how does your pay structure work? Are you only on commission, or are you on a fixed salary? Because if you're on a fixed salary and no commission, it doesn't have that much to say how much you are producing if your boss doesn't kind of give you are rewarding you based on that. So that could be a discussion that if you're doing really good work, that could be a discussion to take with your boss to see if you can come up with an agreement where you will basically show him or her that you really are delivering good value and you're an asset to the company, and it will be in their best interest to give you a more kind of beneficial compensation plan for your situation, because then you will basically produce more. But that's a whole nother discussion, but that's one way to do it. Another thing that you can do is, if it's just on fixed salary, and if you are going to those 13 hours, your goal is to do, say, 10 important things. And if you're able to do those 10 important things in 10 hours instead of 13 hours, then you basically have, I'm not going to say that I would recommend this, but if that's how it's worked, and if they won't kind of understand your situation, if they don't want to reward you for your productivity, then hey, you have a fixed salary, you're going to be rewarded for accomplishing these 10 tasks regardless of how much time you spend. So then my advice would be, just do those 10 tasks that you are actually measured by, and then you can spend the rest of the time, for instance, strategizing on how to build your own business while being at work. But again, it's not something that I recommend doing, but it's something that you can do if you need to really, really hustle, because what you really want to get is to kind of find a way to get out of the rat race. And I would say that if you're putting down 13 hours per day, it will be really, really challenging for you to pick up another job, because there's just so many hours per day.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing that we could also discuss on the call, like find a way to, for instance, negotiate another pay structure for you, or find a way for you to actually work on your business while being at work, but still delivering what you are being paid to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Appreciate it. So Cindy Johnson here is on the call. I'm going to unmute Cindy. Cindy, are you there? Hello, Cindy. If you have, I muted you. So if you click on the little green microphone button, that'll activate your mic. So Cindy Johnson has raised her hand. Okay, so let me go here then and take a look at Elizabeth. Elizabeth, are you there? So we've got a couple people. Elizabeth, maybe. You there, Elizabeth? I hear some noise in the background, but... All right, so let me just check the chat box. It looks like we're having microphone problems, so...
Yeah, you can just write it in the chat box, and you can read the questions for me, Roger.
Sure, yeah. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, too, because I know that you've got some presentations coming up and you're busy yourself, so we appreciate the time. All I want to do is let me just finish off here and just say, for those of you who haven't had a chance to jump in or you came late, we'll make this presentation available recorded for you, and we'll send it out via email. And then again, Tor has extended some great opportunities here for those of you who want to become more productive and increase their income either in their business or just with their work, or you want to make sure that you have the time to accomplish your vision and the dream you've been given, that he's going to be offering strategy sessions. Normally they're $500 for a strategy session. He's going to do it for free for those of you guys who participated and were interested in trying to become more productive. He's got some great hacks. He's making that available. So again, just go to Tor, T-O-R, at timemanagementchef.com. And then also, if you're just joining us, feel free to go over to his website, timemanagementchef.com/Roger, R-O-G-E-R, and register for his free ebook, Insane Productivity Hacks. So, Tor, I just want to say thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to connect with us and share some of these awesome hacks to our audience today. So we appreciate everything you've done.
Thanks a lot for having me, Roger. I always love connecting with you, and your audience is awesome. And here's the kind of the big kind of thing that the epiphany for me, just taking it just quickly before I need to jump in another interview, it's basically that the thing that most people don't understand is if you're able to become more productive, it's the only way to hack kind of the 24 hours per day. So when you're able to become more productive, you're able to do more, and you don't necessarily want to, some people might want to earn more money in their business or more money, but it's not really about money. It basically comes down to the only thing that matters at the end of the day, and that's basically to be able to free up time so you can spend that with the people that you love the most, which would be your family and your friends. And that's what most people do also in their businesses. It's to increase the revenue in their business so they can hire people to run their business or outsource the tasks to other people, so they then again will get more time to their family and friends. So again, productivity has really changed my life, and I've used it to really skyrocket my business and kind of help a lot of people and kind of help making a big impact in the world, at least starting to. And this is something that, just one thing that you should really learn in order to kind of come closer to your big dreams. It would basically be to become more productive.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Tor. We appreciate it, and look forward to connecting with you again. And once again, join Tor. Let him do that free strategy session for you. Just go to Tor, T-O-R, at timemanagementchef.com. And then register also for his Insane Productivity Hacks ebook at timemanagementchef.com/Roger. So thanks again, Tor, and we'll look forward to connecting with you again in the future. So it was awesome.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye, everybody.